Well, I was not expecting to come on and make a podcast episode on a Friday afternoon about some certain markets leaving the UFL. I guess this was going to happen eventually, but apparently the UFL has dropped a massive bomb on a Friday afternoon in terms of some big news about three markets are out of the UFL. That is the Memphis Showboats, that is the Michigan Panthers, and the surprise San Antonio Brahmas. All three teams have been announced that they will not be returning to the UFL. But here is the statement from the UFL that says, after a thorough analysis of all markets and venues, the United Football League has made the difficult decision to depart from the Memphis, Michigan, and San Antonio markets. Unfortunately, due to the stadium constraints, the available venues for in these areas do not align with our new vision of focusing on smaller, more intimate settings that elevate the fan experience. We are deeply grateful for the incredible support of our devoted fans in these communities. Your passion and commitment have been invaluable to the league. As we look ahead to potential expansion in 2028, we remain hopeful that the right venues will become available in these markets so we can return and once again bring UFL football to you. Further details about the league's next steps will be shared in our announcement next week. And then Mike Rapoli, one of the new co-owners of the league, he's been very vocal of late. He did speak out as well. He did post on X. Here's his statement. For the leadership team and me, this has been a very difficult decision, but if the league is going to survive and thrive in the long term, tough choices must be made and made quickly. I deeply sympathize with the fans and communities in Memphis, Michigan, and San Antonio. However, having the right venues is absolutely essential to the league's future success. If venue opportunities arise that meet our criteria in these markets, we will give serious consideration to returning. Thank you. All right, let's break it all down. Um, San Antonio is the one that threw me off the most because that was one that wasn't talked about at all. But after a few minutes of really thinking about it, it actually kind of makes sense. I mean, this was a franchise last year that only had four home games and were forced to give St. Louis a sixth home game and had to play there twice. So, I mean, ultimately, if the Alamo Dome is not going to be available for them, I guess it doesn't make sense to really do it because it kind of looks a little semi-pro-ish to not have your home stadium there 5 times a year when you play 10 total games. So it's tough because San Antonio is one of the higher attendant teams in the league. They were always top four in attendance. So I think it's tough at that aspect, but I I don't know how the UFL goes back to San Antonio. I'm gonna be completely blunt. The San Antonio has been absolutely screwed by pro football teams coming in and out of that city throughout the decades. And I don't see a scenario where San Antonio is going to welcome the Brahmas back with open arms. I mean, they got screwed with the Commanders of the Alliance American Football, and here they are again, losing another pro team for San Antonio. So I don't see a scenario where they ever come back to that city again. Would the city even take them back? I mean, that city has been heartbroken time and time again. I'm sure they're the ones that are probably thrown off the most by it. They have a great fan base there. They always do awesome stuff, and it's very disappointing that San Antonio had to go. But in hindsight, when you think about it, I mean, one, having three Texas teams is absolutely insane. So one of the Texas teams definitely had to go. Thought it might have been Houston just because their attendance was pretty awful last year, but it looks like they still feel like they can make something out of it. So I'd be interested to see if they can try to bring the Roughnecks back from, um, what it's been like the last couple years to try to find the magic in that 2020 and 2023 Houston Roughnecks team. So and then Arlington, obviously, the Renegades are not going anywhere, and the UFL is based in Arlington, Texas. So, despite the Renegades really struggling in attendance over the last couple years, they're not going to go anywhere just because the home base is there. So, overall, I was mostly surprised about the San Antonio one, but in hindsight, that actually probably makes the most sense. If they want to go with a smaller city, want to go with venues that are available, because well, the big topic last year was, the DC defend, when you have like Ford Field wasn't available for like the playoffs. You had, I believe, Audi Field wasn't in DC wasn't available as well. So there were some moments there where you know, almost half the stadiums probably wouldn't have been available for playoffs. So that's a bad look for the league if you got the best team in the conference not being able to host a home game. That's not a good look for the league. So completely understand that, from that perspective, yeah, San Antonio probably had to maybe take a step back, but I honestly don't see how you ever go back there again. Um, Second team, Memphis. I mean, let's get that out of the way. That was the easiest choice of all time. I mean, they literally had a game where it was barely 2,000 fans where tickets were sold. So, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. It just hasn't worked ever since they've been in Memphis. They had that, the first home game in the USFL back in 2023 that looked really good, but since then it's just been kind of a disaster in Memphis. So they had to go. It sucks for the Showboats fans, but let's be honest, there's probably not a ton of Showboat fans in the first place because that city just never supported that team. So had to happen. So that was kind of the easiest choice for the league to make. I don't know if that was really as difficult of a decision. I mean, that's a business decision right there. That's say it would have been available, but that was more business. Like we're just not selling enough tickets, and they probably didn't get enough season ticket deposits to really justify staying there for one more year. Michigan's the one I know that's gonna really irk at people the most, and that's the one that kind of hurts the most for me too, just because they've done so well. I mean, they have improved their attendance year after year, from 2024 to 2025. I mean, the last home game of the year against the Houston Roughnecks, a game that was really meaningless for both teams. They were able to sell over 16,000 tickets for that game. I mean, that's so impressive when we saw that. So definitely disappointed that they couldn't make it work. But at the same time, Ford Field has never been a great choice for a stadium. I think they were kind of stuck with it and just had to roll with it. Now, the league probably had other options, and I know that's been talked about in the past. Could they have gone to where, Eastern Michigan plays? Could they have gone to where another school plays in Michigan? But I know Mike Rapoli is not exactly the biggest fan of playing in college stadiums, so that was a point of emphasis for him to kind of avoid playing in those type of stadiums. So maybe it was never going to work. Now, he did mention in the past that, once the new soccer stadium gets built for that Detroit City FC team or whatever it is, maybe they could go to that. So that I think Michigan is at least left open the possibility that I think the Panthers could come back in 2028 in an expansion with a better stadium. And I think they could do pretty well and maybe bringing those fans back because they haven't been burned as often as like San Antonio. Like San Antonio, they've had pro teams leave there so many times. I don't see how you come back. Memphis, I wouldn't even consider bringing them back whatsoever in any capacity, just because they clearly don't care. Like that city does not care about them. So it's better just to move on from it. But Michigan, I think Michigan's the only one that I can see like there's a good possibility you go back there and maybe try to make it work again with the Panthers in a smaller soccer stadium. Ford Field was just it didn't look good on TV, and I know Mike Rapoli said that when he was being interviewed on the radio, about a month ago, where he was like, "I'm sick and tired of seeing these COVID, fan bases and these stadiums with like COVID-sized fans." Basically, meaning he didn't like seeing empty seats. There were just so many, and you look at like Memphis, always a lot of empty seats. San Antonio, not as much, but you did just because the Alamo Dome is a bigger stadium, you did see that a little bit more. And then with Michigan, Ford Field, no matter how many fans were there, it was always going to look empty. I mean that stadium seats what 60, 70,000 plus. Like it was always going to look empty, even if they ever miraculously got it to 20,000. Like that was still going to look really empty. So it was just a bad look overall, from a TV perspective. And I know there's a lot of people that maybe may not care about that part as much, but the look and how many people are in a stadium, that does make a difference. It just it shows the credibility to a league, and viewers are more likely to stay on if they know that people in those local markets actually care. So I do think it makes a really big difference to make sure you have fans in the stadium and it looks good. Say what you want about Vegas Vipers back in 2023. That field, Cashman Field, was absolutely garbage. But hey, it looked good on TV, at least from a crowd perspective. I mean, they were always able to pack it pretty good, even if it was only, 5, 6,000 a game. At least they were able to make it look somewhat good on television that people wanted to come out and go see the Vipers. So, got to give them credit there. But yeah, overall, just tough day. You hate to hear it, but the league needed to make some tough choices, and they needed to make sure that they were in the right markets because this is a big year. I mean, for them to make this kind of drastic move going into their third season, that this means that I don't know if it's make or break because I think Mike Rapoli kind of gives this league, second life to it. So it could maybe go beyond 2026. And for them to already mention like we're looking at expansion in 2028, that's an interesting tidbit to think, well, they're going to spend the next 3 years trying to make it work in the current markets they have, and then after the 2027 season, start talking about expansion. So that's kind of an interesting note that they are going to give themselves a few years. I thought initially it sounded like it was going to be sooner than that for expansion, but you know what? That's actually a great timeline. You guys know how I feel about expansion. I absolutely hate that word. It is, I've almost want to call it the E word now because it's a disgusting name because we talk about it so much in this space. But for the league to say 2028 for expansion, I like that. I think it gives you 3 years to make it work within the markets that you currently have and the new markets that you have, and make sure you build off of it. So, honestly, really smart strategy on the league's part. And then, next week we're going to find out who's going to be joining. I mean, already know Columbus is for sure going to be in, so that's going to leave two more markets. So, James Larson has brought up Louisville. It sounds like Louisville's a realistic possibility. So that's one aspect to think about there. It does seem like Louisville is going to be part of this thing potentially. And then what about the last one? Who's going to be the third market that's going to be in there? Sounds like it's either probably going to be Boise or it's going to be one of the Florida cities like Orlando or Tampa. Um, I would think if stadium sizes and stuff like that, if venue availability is going to be big, um, I would probably think Orlando is probably the better choice. I mean, Boise, it sounds like Boise's not ready to be a part of it yet, but they could be. I mean, Boise's got the football stadium where the Boise State Broncos play. I think Boise would make absolute sense, but I think it's going to be a toss up between that and Orlando. I'm sure the Danny Garcia connection with Orlando is going to play a huge role in whether she ends up picking, if they pick that over Boise. But, it sounded like Boise wasn't, from reporters that are there and stuff like that have said they haven't heard anything about that happening. They heard maybe 2027 being a possibility, but sounds like Boise might be in line for expansion in 2028. So I would say right now it's probably going to lean towards Orlando being a choice, which I don't even know if I like that choice at all. I mean, they had the Guardians in 2023, and it was a bit rough. I mean, what were they doing? Like 8,000 fans a game. Like, thank God for the Vegas Vipers. They made them look good in the end, but there was a lot of empty seats in that stadium too. So, there was a lot of times where you watch Guardian games and it was all the fans packed on one side of the stadium, and then on the other side, when you see one of the sidelines, it was completely empty. So, does it even make sense to go back to Orlando and make it work? I don't know. I mean, that Guardian team was bad, so that didn't help either. But I just don't know if you can justify going back to Orlando afterwards. Tampa, maybe. Where are you going to play in Tampa? I mean, I guess Orlando. If you don't play at the Camping World Stadium, then you probably go to where I think they have the soccer team in Orlando. Maybe you play there. Is that going to be available? Are you going to run into scheduling conflicts with them too during the season? Like, that's something to think about too. Tampa, are you going to run into issues there? Are you going to pick Raymond James Stadium, or are you going to find a smaller venue there? So I think there's a lot of things to talk about in that aspect in terms of, does Florida even make sense? I think Boise probably makes more sense just because, that Boise State Stadium is there. it's not being really used in the off season. And Boise's a new market, could be good to bring in a professional team and see how they do. I think they could. I don't know if they'll pack that stadium all the way, but I think it's pretty realistic that they can get 10,000 plus in that stadium each game. And then, the one other aspect to this whole thing is, what's going to happen with the players, what's going to happen with the teams. Because I know, like, James Larson just reported today that Matt Corral is going to sign with the Michigan Panthers. Well, where's Michigan going? Are they going to just relocate that whole team to one of the other markets, and those markets get to inherit, those players? I mean, in that aspect, man, whoever gets the Memphis Showboats, I pray for that market, because that's going to be rough. I think the league is going to have to be really strategic if they're going to go in that direction. Like, whoever gets that Michigan Panthers team, you probably want to put that Michigan Panthers roster and coaching staff. You probably want to put them in Columbus. You want to put them in a place where they're going to be successful right off the bat. Um, Whoever this third and final market that nobody knows about, you probably give them. You might give them the crappiest team. I don't know. Because, like, if Louisville's another option, you probably want to give them, San Antonio or something. Like, you want to give them a decent roster. I don't know, San Antonio. San Antonio had a bad year. Maybe you don't give it to them, but I mean, toss up between Memphis and San Antonio, which team is better between the two? Who knows? I mean, it's really going to be about what you do with, that Michigan Panthers team, because whoever gets that roster, man, that market's going to hit a massive home run with some stars. Because even, like, if Matt Corral is signing with Michigan today, like, that's still going to be a really good football team. So you probably want to have that, roster and have that coaching staff over anything. And then the other aspect of it is, I know Mike Rapoli posted that image or the photo with John Gruden winning the whole Pat McAfee crap, which I won't go into. You guys know how I feel about that. But Mike Rapoli took a picture with John Gruden. Is John Gruden going to join this league? I mean, I felt like that was like a huge drop that, oh, maybe John Gruden is going to be a part of this league. Does he join that Columbus team? I think he's a native of Ohio, if I'm correct on that. Does he end up taking over that franchise? I mean, I don't know. There's a lot that's going to go into these next few weeks. Like, one, where are these teams going to be, relocating? Two, what's going to happen with the rosters of the teams that have left, from last year? Are they going to change coaches? Are coaches leaving? What's happening there? There's so many unknowns at this point, and it's really going to be very interesting how this is all going to turn out. But I guess we're going to have to see. We just have too many unknowns. So yeah, for Memphis, Michigan, and San Antonio, for those fan bases, my heart goes out to you. Really tough day for you guys, but honestly, for the UFL, this was, for the league itself, I think it's going to be an awesome step in the right direction for those guys. I think when you talk about what the league needs to do, man, it's a great opportunity for them to find the smaller markets, go through this new strategy that Mike Rapoli wants to do, and move forward. That, I think it's a great idea. I think they're making the right decisions and relocating to other places. Now it's just a matter of, okay, you get into these markets. Now let's grow within it. Make sure we're doing the marketing needed. Make sure you got the community engagement that's necessary to sell tickets and get butts and seats, because that's what's going to be all about. So 2026 is going to be just a season of who the hell knows what's going to happen. But man, it's going to be one crazy ass roller coaster ride. So should be fun. Should be fun. So let me know what you guys think. Go ahead and comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think. Do you like the decisions made with the markets that have left? Do you think they did it right? Do you think this was the wrong decisions? And what do you think is coming up next for the announcement next week? So let me know what your thoughts are. I appreciate you guys listening and watching, and I will be back soon. Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.